What's up, everybody, and a very special welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are inside of the Heritage Hill Studios, and of course, Heritage Hill coming to you in Pompey. Heritage Hill Brew House out on Sweet Road in the amazing rolling hills and beautiful natural landscape of central and upstate New York, and right here close to so many pieces of our beautiful community in central New York. You will find Heritage Hill North in the historic Sweetheart Corner area on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse. I am joined here inside of the Heritage Hill Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora with one of the very well-known faces of GG Cards and Breaks, a proud partner of the show, and a first-time guest, Mr. Anthony Campbell. How are you, sir?
Good, Dan. How you doing today?
I'm doing very well. And I do want to also make a note that Anthony is not only and a wonderful person in the community, an awesome friend, and somebody that I appreciate the expertise and the service and everything he does at GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse. But he is most importantly the leader of the Kyle Shanahan fan club.
One of the top fans, yeah, of course.
So how are we?
Coach. Good. I'm good. Yeah, things are good. Yeah.
Doing well?
Yeah, absolutely. Always.
So
excited for another NFL season. Excited to dive into the schedule today a little bit. Talk about some of the ups and downs of the schedule this year.
Yeah, there's going to be some definitely. I mean, when you're breaking down the schedule and taking a look at it, there's unique pieces. The Jaguars, who everybody knows is in the comfort of my own home, my team. They are playing back-to-back in London again for the second time.
It's like
ever.
they're home away from home, though. You know what I mean? That's something that I think that their owner has kind of pushed for now. It seems like.
Yeah,
doesn't he own a football club out there? One of the.
He has pieces. There was a talk of people thought he was trying to buy Wembley,
right?
But there's definitely
he's got
a
some stake out there that he is kind of pushing for. So I think that's why the NFL's business, right? Yeah. So obviously these international games, as we're seeing this year, we're introducing the Brazil game.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, the NFL being a business, they're doing what they can to kind of increase that revenue every year, and these international games have done that. So I think that it's important, and the Jaguars obviously kind of have been a team that have, done it a lot already. So the back-to-back for them, I feel like is, in general, being out there, if you have to go out there once, I don't really think it hurts them to stay out there either.
Right.
Because, you kind of get your normal week of rest anyways. And so not having to fly back home and just playing another game there is not really a detriment to them. So that's, I think that's kind of a plus for them, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is they have the opportunity to go overseas, which a lot of the guys that have been on the team over the years have gotten used to it. So the guys that have been doing it year in and year out, like Andre Sisco, who obviously was at Syracuse, and, look at guys that have had some experience with it, like Trevor Lawrence, like Travis Etienne Jr., like, some of the old heads like Tyler Shatley on the offensive line, and Cam Robinson. This is not anything strange to them. The positive is because they're the only team that's there in back-to-back weeks, they don't have the jet lag
second week. Another team's coming in with that jet lag that they might not have for that second week. I don't know if there's any buys that fall for them, for their opposition. I didn't dig into their schedule quite deep enough to know if the team coming in on week 2 is coming in with a bye before to kind of counteract that. Sometimes the NFL will look into that to try and even the playing field a little bit there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if whoever they play in that second game, if that team has their bye week before to help them out, but it's not a disadvantage for them to have that second game there right away.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, having that time overseas too, and the amount of promotion, there's something to be said about the fact that the Jaguars actually have rights. They own rights out in London and in Ireland. So having those games, and they're not giving up 2 home games, and there's parameters with the new Jaguars Stadium of the Future that they have already decided with the city of Jacksonville, Florida, and the organization. Now it has to go to a 19-member group, so the council members have to vote in majority to pass it, and if they pass that in late June, then in October, the NFL will take a look at it at their meetings, and if the NFL approves it by at least 24 of the 32 franchises, 23 with Jacksonville approving it, then they're able to go forward with this $1.4 billion stadium. They're going to stay where they are right now at Everbank this season, next season. Then they'll play in limited capacity, and then they'll either go to Gainesville or they go to Orlando. And I've been a proponent of Orlando because, well, I mean, spending so much time down there, and not Jacksonville, but the state of Florida has become a second home of my company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, of Wake Up Call, of Do Diz with Dan, of so many things that we do. And because that's a second hub of my company, I spent a lot of time in Orlando, and I've spent time at Camping World Stadium when it was the Citrus Bowl before. Mm-hmm. If they go to Orlando, my argument has been the stadium is not inhabited by anything else at the time, usually, unless there's a concert or something. So the stadium is open. There's a ton of seating. It's utilized every year for multiple bowl games. So you know that tens of thousands of people can go in there. It's in Orlando, which is the amusement capital of America, if not the whole world. It has direct flights from all over the country. Mm-hmm. There are a ton of people from overseas coming in. There could be some fans from London that are coming into the States that could see the team multiple times. And then on top of all of that, you look at the fact that they're not competing with any other professional or collegiate team to utilize the space. So it's essentially their space. They don't have to keep changing it over if it's like them and UCF or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just think it makes perfect sense. I mean, if they go to Gainesville, you're going to a place that doesn't have direct flights. It's harder to get to. You have to drive. If they go to Orlando, I think they're going to pull in a lot of...
Travel's important, right? Because if you can get somewhere directly easily, you're going to bring in that out of area money. And what I mean, obviously, you're always constantly thinking about your home fans. Yep. But like there are a lot of away teams that travel really well. The Cowboys, the Steelers, the 49ers, the Packers, the Bills. There's a lot of teams, the Chiefs, the Patriots. There are a lot of teams that travel well, right? And like you got to think that not every year every team is always good, right? There's going to be years that your team might not be as great for any team in the NFL in any major sport, and you still want to fill the seats. And how do you do that? If you can't get to the stadium, opposing teams fans can't get to the stadium. So you'd have to think Orlando would be an easy destination. Yeah, let's fly in. We'll see the game. We'll go to Disney World. Let's fly in. We'll go
Universal.
Whatever. Yeah. Exactly. There's a lot of other stuff to do in a city like that.
And the thing is, because of the time period that it's in, it's a better time to go down. You have the Food and Wine Festival that's going to be going on at Epcot during that time period. You're talking September to January. The weather's cooler. It's better for trips, for people to go on trips and whatnot.
For people who aren't used to the Florida heat or just don't want peak Florida heat, that NFL season is, a less brutal time of year.
And it's a few hours from Jacksonville, but it's about 2.5. But the reality of it all is, if you're going to Gainesville, there's what else is there to do?
Right.
Besides going to the game, what else is there to essentially do? But if you go to Orlando, I just feel like there's more of a chance for the Jaguars as an organization to gain money from a family that says, "Hey, let's go to Disney on Friday. Let's go to Universal on Saturday. And the Jaguars are in town and we can get tickets for $40. Let's go on Sunday."
Right. Yeah. Maybe a long weekend of catching all the things that are available in
move some of those fans over
Orlando area.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, being in Orlando, you become part of the tourism. You become part of the portfolio to sell. If you're in Gainesville, granted, it's you and the Gators, but are people going to fly into Jacksonville, fly into Orlando, then get in the car, drive for an hour and 45
minutes? It strictly becomes a football thing instead of an entertainment thing. There's just less to do when you're outside of the...
And it's a beautiful historic stadium that is literally sitting there in a parking lot waiting to be used. Mm-hmm. So to me, there's more value in them going there instead of going somewhere saying like, "Oh, okay, UCF, we want to use your space, but the groundskeepers are going to have to put our logo on. You play on Saturday, we got to move it on." Like it's just more work for no reason.
Right.
So we talked about my Jaguars, which thank you. I want to talk about San Francisco.
Okay. All right.
And get into the Niners. And I put out a poll. I actually want to see where that poll is currently at. But I put out a poll this week, and for those of you that follow us on X, thank you so much. X at CallDT, that's CALLDT. If you shoot us a follow on X, you can see our polls usually bi-weekly, if not every week. And I put up 3 quarterback polls. I'm not going to show you what people said because I want to get your answer. And then we'll talk about where the votes are currently, because you can vote for the next few days, folks, if you go to X at CallDT. So I'm going to ask you this and get your honest opinion without knowing what people are saying. Which of these 4 quarterbacks would you rather have lead your team of the rookies?
Okay.
Right now. Caleb Williams, J.J. McCarthy, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels?
Jeez, that's tough. Of the rookies right now, I would honestly probably say JJ.
Okay.
Now that might be a little bit of I like Harbaugh. He was a coach for the Niners, so that might be coming from that. But I mean, JJ is a national champion, so he comes from a system where he already kind of knows what it takes to have that pressure, to be a quarterback who has had the weight of everything on him to go through the adversity to win a championship.
Yeah.
I feel like, Jaden and Caleb are obviously super electric, big play. I don't know that they've played the level of, competition that, JJ had to play to win a national championship. But they also had a ton of spotlight on them.
Yeah.
I'm not a Drake May guy personally. Just who you playing at North Carolina? I mean, look at the last couple North Carolina quarterbacks, that have come out. Like, hasn't really produced NFL caliber winning quarterbacks.
I was never sold on Sam Howell. I was never sold on him.
I mean, sure, Howell threw 4,000 yards, but when you're losing football games, what happens in the fourth quarter when you're losing? Defenses get soft. They run more prevent to try and keep you in bounds, to keep the clock running, and yards rack up. Yards don't necessarily equate to wins in the NFL.
Yeah.
So again, Sam's young, and I think one of the big things that we do is we put a lot of pressure on young quarterbacks to produce right away.
Yeah.
Which is unfair. 20 years ago, Rodgers sat behind Favre for 3 years. Love sat behind Rodgers for 3 years. These are, and then look at the success those guys had coming out of the system, waiting a couple of years. That seems to be working for Green Bay. They've had 3 quarterbacks over the last 35 years. So maybe their system works. All these other guys kind of get thrown right to the fire, and we expect the world of them. And then we have all these stats that say, 50% of first-round quarterbacks fail. It's like, well, 100% of first-round quarterbacks outside of Jordan Love have been expected to go lead their team almost immediately and produce immediately. And that's super tough for these 22-year-old kids who aren't even physically or mentally fully developed human beings really yet. I mean, most people aren't, fully developed for where they're at until their mid-20s. So it's really tough to just put basically the weight of the world on these kids is what they are. At 22, 21, 23, coming out of college. But if I had to go with one of those guys right now in terms of I think leadership qualities, and don't get me wrong, I'm definitely looking at Caleb and Jaden Daniels over JJ in my dynasty drafts for fantasy purposes. Yeah. I think if I had to rate them in terms of dynasty, I'm still rating Jaden and Caleb much higher than JJ.
Yeah.
But, I think a lot of people are high on Drake. I would put JJ probably in the long term of things in terms of fantasy. I don't think he'll do what Jaden does, because Jaden he's very electric, can move the ball. But I think JJ's kind of seen it in college. I like where he came from with Harbaugh being a Niners guy. I loved Harbaugh when he was our head coach, obviously. Yeah. A Super Bowl loss, couple of NFC Championship losses. We were right there when Harbaugh was our head coach. Yeah. And I hope JJ does well for Minnesota. I got a couple of buddies who are really, really big Minnesota fans, and from what I'm seeing out of early rookie camp stuff is that JJ's doing pretty solid, picking up the playbook and meshing well in Minnesota right now. So
yeah, the poll is, and now it's dipped a little bit below 50%, but Jaden Daniels was carrying almost half.
I see that. I love Jaden. I think Jaden's going to be great.
Yeah.
And like I said, I if I was going dynasty, I think Jaden is probably my favorite guy for drafting in terms of like dynasty fantasy football.
Yeah.
I JJ to me, I like his just the pedigree of, winning at the college level.
Yeah.
I think that has something to say, translating to the next level, hopefully.
So Jaden got it currently, and you could vote in this on X at CallDT, that's CALLDT. Jaden's 48%, Caleb 23%, JJ 19%, Drake 10%. My ranking of the 5 of the 6 that were drafted in the first round that I expect to play, before this poll was put out, as far as what I anticipate seeing this year, I actually have Jaden 1. I have Bo 2. I think Bo is going to be more meaningful to that team than people give credit for. And then JJ, I had like in the top 3. Then I moved him down. I have Caleb 3rd, and I have JJ, then Drake.
It's just tough though. Like Denver's not. They're not built well right now. Like that team in general.
They haven't had anything since Tim Tebow.
The team in general is just in a rough spot. It feels like obviously I wish the best to Bo, but like you're playing Patty twice, you're playing Herbert twice. The Raiders seemed to be kind of getting it together a little bit after Pierce became the head coach last year. So you got 6 tough divisional games for them with a rookie quarterback. That's never easy.
Yeah, and I think Aiden O'Connell, as those of you that have been watching and listening to the show for a couple of years now, I'm high on him, and I think
Gardner.
He's going to sling it out there.
Whoever wins that battle, or Gardner, either of those guys, I think, you got Devontae Adams, Zamir White is going to play a bigger role this year now that Jacobs left.
He could be the guy now.
They've got Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. They've got some guys there in Vegas. I almost said Oakland.
Yeah.
You still almost say Oakland even a couple years later.
Yeah.
But they've got some guys in Vegas, and so whoever wins that quarterback battle this summer is going to have some players that can produce. And so I think it's going to be tough for Bo as a rookie. Even though, Bo's older guy, obviously he produced very high at Oregon at the college level, and before Oregon he produced as well. I mean, he's done well wherever he's gone.
Yeah.
And so I think he definitely has the opportunity to produce at the NFL level. But I just, when you're talking about having to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year, it almost always feels like you're starting off with 2 losses, right? It's just like it's tough to go.
And the Raiders usually steal one. They find a way to get one these last couple of years. But, I mean, to me, the talent of Aiden O'Connell, I feel like he's going to sling it all over the field. I think he's going to open up the offense. I covered Zamir White, and I'm excited to see what he can do now that he could be the guy. And I think that arguably top 3, if not top 2, if not top 1, backup of 32 NFL franchises. If Gardner ends up being the backup, I think he's arguably the best backup in the NFL.
Either one of those guys would be, O'Connell threw 8 touchdowns, no picks over the last 4 games. Pierce already said he was going to, he earned the right to take those first snaps this offseason.
Yeah.
He did come on strong at the end of the year. 4th round pick. He didn't have to start right away like those first round picks did last year. Again, another guy who waited for his chance. And everyone's going to talk about his interceptions. Sure, he's a rookie quarterback. He struggled right away. A lot of them do. A lot of these rookie quarterbacks struggle.
Peyton Manning, I think he won 1 game and he threw an insane amount of interceptions in his first season.
But we forget about that because he won 2 Super Bowls and had the career that he had. Like, no one cares about year 1 when you are, getting your quarterback of the future. If you got your guy, you got your guy. It just takes a little bit. But yeah, the Niners schedule is tough. If we're gonna be honest about the Niners schedule, they did us no favors. I saw a stat. I forget who I saw it on X. I forget who it was, but it was showing up. It was the worst schedules by rest, like your opponents getting rest before playing you. The Niners in 23 and 24 had 2 of the worst 7 percentages on the scale, and like Dallas and Buffalo, like some of our bigger games of the year, those teams have byes before we play them. So like we're traveling to Buffalo on a Sunday night, and Buffalo has their bye week before. Like, know how tough that is to travel cross country to lose 3 hours, and then the Bills also get a bye week.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, the Niners right now we were the only team favored in every game by Vegas, but it's May. Like that doesn't mean anything in May. That's just Vegas putting a line out to get as much money as they can to start the year. But like that's difficult. You're traveling and you're talking December. So you're talking about a team that plays on the West Coast where it's, traditionally warmer and sunnier and nicer, traveling into Buffalo in December, where the Bills have an extra entire week of rest to prepare for them.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me that the Niners are the favorite in that game? Like, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if Josh Allen's not healthy, but if Josh Allen's healthy with 13 days of rest and the Niners are on the road on Sunday Night Football, like, it's a tough schedule. And, like, yeah, we beat up Dallas last year.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was last year. This is this year. And they are going to have an extra week of rest off to prepare for the Niners. Yeah. They didn't really do us any favors, and
I think we had you after the bye week last year, Jacksonville, and that's when like the Niners had lost 3 in a row, and it was like, oh, what are they going to do? And they came into Jacksonville and blew out Jacksonville.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's just like I forget who the third team was, but maybe it was Pittsburgh, something like that. But it was like 3 tough games that it's like that those teams having a bye right before playing us, so I think that obviously the 49ers, we just lost the Super Bowl, and we've been right there the last couple of years. There's a lot of expectations every year in Santa Clara for them to be right there again, but we have a tough schedule. A couple of the games are more favorable, like we do play Dallas at home. I think there's a couple of those bigger teams that have to come to San Francisco, but like, I can't imagine that we're excited to be traveling into Buffalo on a Sunday night in December. It's going to be cold. It could be snowing. They could be covered in snow. You don't really know
because they refuse to put a retractable roof.
You don't really know what's going to be happening in Buffalo in December. There could be nothing, or there could be 2 feet of snow. So
why do all this work on a stadium and not put a retractable roof in Buffalo? Like, and then ask the fans every year, like, hey, we'll give you some money off your ticket if you help us shovel. Yeah. Like, why is there not a retractable roof in a place where you get lake effect, you get consistency? I don't know if anybody's ever, like, we get a lot of snow in Syracuse, but usually it's between us and Buffalo. Buffalo, on average, growing up, would get like 190 inches, 200, whatever. And if you've ever been in a Buffalo snowstorm, like when I was covering the NCAA tournament there, when Tyler Ennis was playing and Syracuse lost to Dayton, going back to that, I'm driving home, and I remember 2 things about driving home. Now, 3 things. I remember going, I'm not sure where the road is. Mm-hmm. I remember saying to myself, it looks like Star Wars when you have that snow coming at you so fast and it looks like you're going through that light speed. Yeah. And the other thing was, I've never seen a larger snowflake. They were about this big. Like and I remember driving home going like, we get snow, but when Buffalo gets it, it's like you're driving and it's like, oh, it's a nice day, and bam. It's like you literally jump into another dimension. You're driving and it's fine, and then it's hyperspace. Mm-hmm. So why, when you see last year and the year before and all this stuff, how do you tell your fans, let's get around a new stadium, let's get around this great thing that we're going to have for you, but we're not going to cover it?
Yeah. Spent a lot of money on that stadium, too.
Yeah, we're not going to cover it. We have no desire to cover the stadium. We're just going to leave it open. See, the thing, and this is the same thing.
It's because when teams like San Francisco travel into Buffalo, they want to make them deal with the elements.
But think about what if San Francisco comes in, travels into Buffalo, not having a bye, Buffalo has a bye, and then they tell San Fran, we're going to play tomorrow, so you got to stay another night because we have too much snow.
That's
you know what I mean? Like, that's some of the stuff that you deal with Buffalo. They're going to play a Monday game at 3:00 in the afternoon because of the snowstorm. So, I mean, Buffalo, to me, if I'm the NFL, because remember when they were talking to Oakland, they literally, because you had the Oakland A's and you had the Raiders, and whenever you'd watch a Raiders game, you would see the actual, like, baseball diamond. Yeah. And for years, they said, the commissioner, too, when he was talking to San Diego when they had the Chargers, he was like, you need a new stadium. And then the Chargers just kind of thought that Roger would forget about it.
Yeah.
And they thought Mr. Goodell would just not
Give
care.
up on that.
And then he was like, okay, you guys have a window of when you need to get this done. And then they didn't do it. And he was like, okay, so like, you thought I was kidding? Like, I don't, you need to upgrade the stadium. So, I think there's been different stadiums at different times in different places where you're having these conversations of what are you doing. And I think in Buffalo, and I think the same thing about Syracuse, is that Syracuse, it would behoove the Orange to have a retractable roof on the dome. Now, they said allegedly it was too much money. So what they decided to do was to build a roller coaster track, but not put a roller coaster on it, because that's what it looks like around the dome, is that weird roller coaster thing that's supposed to hold it up. Now, it looks good inside, it looks good outside, but in my mind, I want Florida State coming to the dome November 25th, and you have the opportunity to open the roof on a light snow 12-degree day and make Florida State play in that. Mm-hmm. So I don't see, like, to me, both of these places should have a dome that is retractable. Neither one of them do. And it's never made sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't, there's nothing to argue.
I hear you.
When Anthony has an argument that he feels good about, he's right on it. The fact that you're silent is...
I don't get it. The only thing Buffalo fans should be breaking their back on is tables out in the parking lot.
That's right, baby.
Not shoveling.
I have to hide my tables from them. I got some good tables I don't want to break. So
we need those for the card shows. They can't be breaking them.
I was like, Bill's Mafia.
The tailgates.
You must have nobody selling cards in Buffalo because the tables are gone for sure. So I'm gonna start putting my tables on eBay, see how much I can make with Bill's Mafia.
Local pickup in Buffalo on Sundays only.
Yeah, there you go. So we look at this. I'm going to have an uptick in my Craigslist selling of tables to the Buffalo people. So Thanksgiving sometimes gets boring. Sometimes it's and we know Detroit's playing every year. We know Dallas is playing every year. But when the divisional games happen, they get more exciting. This season, depending on where the teams are at, there's the anticipation that Detroit is going to be vying for a run to the Super Bowl.
You would think that Detroit would be just as powerful as they were last year. Right. They re-signed.
They didn't really lose anybody.
Sewell and Goff and Amon-Ra got their contracts this offseason. So you would think that Detroit is, primed to make another run this year.
And they'll be playing on Thanksgiving, Thursday, November 28th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Our opening game that day, yeah.
Yeah, they will be playing Chicago and Caleb Williams. But now Caleb Williams, we're talking DJ Moore, we're talking Keenan Allen, we're talking DeAndre Swift, we're talking Cole Kmet's back. So this is going to be a unique matchup of where is Chicago in the maturation process of Caleb and Rome Odunze, and then where is Detroit. And my biggest question anytime I talk about Detroit is, will Vegas have a line every game that says Dan Campbell goes for 2?
Honestly, the NFL in general has turned into this kind of this analytics-based thing where, like, most of the time they're saying that it makes sense to go for 2. You know what I mean? Like, Dan Campbell seems to be one of these guys who's, like, almost moneyballing the NFL, where, like, the analytics drive this, the analytics drive that. And I'm like, well, if you just took the 1 point those last 3 times that you failed on the 2, you'd already have the 3 points you need.
Or when you try for a 2-point conversion and you do it 3 times on one possession and it worked the first time and you got a penalty and then you got a penalty and then you did it again.
Just take the extra point, maybe go to overtime.
What are the analytics on trying a 2-point conversion 3 times when typically there's not a high percentage you get it the first time?
Yeah. I
think it's like a 0.00003%.
He's like the new Riverboat Ron, right?
It's like, hey, we just do what you got to do to get this Moneyball thing through and push the analytics. But Dan Campbell, for me, it's like, I love his fire and I love his drive, but I also feel like he's the linebacker that will go helmet to helmet with you and not care if he dies on the play.
Like, at the same time, is that team the same way if he doesn't have that attitude throughout all of it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He has that.
Do they feed off of his emotion?
Right. And like, he goes for a lot of 4th downs that other guys might not go for. Like,
right.
It's just, that's just kind of his style. And that team might not be that team if it wasn't for his coaching style. I think that's pretty evident by the fact that they kind of shot out of nowhere just in a very quick pace.
Yeah.
The players have obviously bought into it. The players stand behind him. They stand behind Jared Goff. Obviously, Goff has really kind of resurrected his career.
Can we hit this really quick? Pat Mahomes, I said last year, if they win a third, if he gets a third, especially in this short amount of time he's been in the NFL, if he gets a third with Andy Reid, then it's a dynasty. 3, we're talking dynasty. I don't think they need any more than that to call it a dynasty. Now he's chasing the Brady run, I guess. So Pat Mahomes, when he signs his contract, he signs that extension a couple of years ago, $50 million annually. Jared Goff's new contract, 4 years, $212 million extension, $170 guaranteed. He is now above Pat Mahomes, $53 million. Joe Burrow, $55 million annually. Joe Burrow does not have a Super Bowl. Jared Goff does not have a Super Bowl. Your thoughts on the fact that Burrow and Goff are annually making more money than the guy who almost nobody can beat?
Well, this all started a couple years ago with Garoppolo, with San Francisco, right? I mean, Garoppolo signed almost $26 million, and people thought that was crazy. Yeah. And everyone said, no, that's a bargain. Wait till you see what's about to happen. And then now we've seen what's happened, which is basically just the next guy gets more than the last guy.
And I can only...
been what's just continued. That's been the trend.
That's why I want Trevor signed immediately.
Right. Which, it's just every guy has been like, well, look what Jared... The next person who goes for a contract is going to say, look what Jared Goff just got.
Well, and Deshaun kind of...
Do you value me more than Jared Goff?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Deshaun, to me, broke the wheel, because he got the first fully guaranteed contract ever in the NFL for a quarterback of that magnitude. And you're sitting here saying over $200 million to a guy that was suspended at the time.
Right. But I mean, like, what does Brock Purdy say in the negotiation room? He said, Jared Goff just got $53 million. Remember when we were losing by 2 touchdowns and I led us back to beat Jared Goff to go win an NFC championship and go to a Super Bowl? I want more money than Jared Goff. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Every guy is going in with the next negotiation saying, I want more money than the last guy. Yeah. And that started with Garoppolo, because right after Garoppolo, he got $28 million or whatever, 26, 27 million. And it's like the next person was 30. Then the next person was 32. Then it was 35. Then when Pat was his 50, that was like the benchmark. Because Deshaun was like, I want 50. Every guy is like, give me 50 plus now. Yeah. And that's what it is. Everyone's getting 50. And so the next person's going to be 55, and then you're going to see a $60 million quarterback before we hit 2030, probably. You know what I mean? And that's crazy, and that's why the NFL salary cap continues to go up so much every year. Yeah. Because at this point, we're getting to a point where your quarterback is 25% of the salary cap, just the quarterback position. Well, and then you got to fill up your other 50-something guys.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, when he signed his deal with Green Bay, the amount of money they're giving him, he's 40 years old, then he goes over to the Jets, and you're looking at this outrageous money for him at the tail end of his career. And I can only imagine when people say, well, what's the argument? You brought it up in a good point. The head-to-head argument of Brock Purdy is, well, look at what Jared Goff got, and I beat him.
Right.
So now Trevor, his argument can be, when you drafted me, we were the worst team in the NFL. In the time that in the 3 years I've been your quarterback, I brought you from the worst team to a playoff team.
Right.
So I brought you from 32 to in the top 10, in the top 12. So I brought you up 20 spots. What's that worth to you? Mm-hmm. And my thing with Trevor is, I said, I was hoping that 2 years ago that they've been having contract negotiation talks for the last 3 years, so that this is not a hard decision to make.
Well, and on top of that, when you franchise tag a player, it's like a percentage of what that position makes.
Of the top.
If every quarterback makes $50 million just to franchise them for 1 year is going to cost you like 80 or whatever percentage.
It breaks your bank to franchise.
It's going to, exactly. It's going to be a crazy number to even franchise tag a quarterback now.
Yeah. Right now it's linebacker and wide receiver.
Because of what they make. So if
it's like $26 million for a wide receiver for a year or something.
If you even try to keep them on a franchise tag, it's going to cost you a ton of money. That's why Cousins bet on himself, because he's like, they can't franchise tag me. It would cost them too much, so I'm just going to go take.
Well, that's like T. Higgins. It's like you're going to give the guy $26 million for a franchise tag?
And make more than Jamar Chase. And they couldn't have, so it's like, and that's the thing that's crazy about the cap right now, is that's why they have to continue to increase it so much every year, because just percentage-wise, what the quarterbacks are bringing in, it's just... quarterbacks and now defensive ends and now the safety position is really shot up in what people are making.
And this is a contract year for Andre Sisco of Syracuse with Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And he's arguably their best defensive back going into this season. So how are they going to show him that?
And who was somebody I just saw, I forget who it was, but there was a player who was a safety who just got paid his contract. I think it was maybe even Detroit. I don't remember, but I saw, and they are not only the highest paid safety, but it made them the highest paid defensive back in football from the safety position, which typically your money goes to your corners, covering the wide receivers, not the safety position.
Covering the space, yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So, it normally goes to the guy who's got to play one-on-one
on an island
against the A.J. Browns. And, that the Darrelle Revises, the Nnamdi Asomugha's, but those premier one-on-one cover guys, the Jalen Ramseys, those were the guys getting the huge one-on-one contracts.
The Sauce.
Sauce
will get paid.
Sauce will get paid for sure. But it was always the one-on-one premier corners getting your big money from the secondary. But now that you've had a safety, just get that
all opens, it takes is one.
Now that opens Pandora's box entirely for the entire secondary. It looked entirely different. Our run defense entirely different with him out. You know what I mean? We dropped from a top 5 run defense to like 20th in the league. And he was the only person missing. Warner and Greenlaw were still there until Greenlaw got hurt in the Super Bowl. But like the entire rest of our defensive line and linebackers was there. The only person missing from the secondary was Hufanga, and our run defense suffered horrendously. So it's very clear that the safety position is doing a lot more than covering the space when you have a premier safety. Yeah. So what's Hufanga going to say? He's going to say, I want $30 million a year like the other safeties.
It's like Josh Allen. They didn't pay Josh Allen in Jacksonville at that hybrid position of being a guy who can play linebacker or DN.
Yeah.
So you got this edge guy with Josh Allen, and here he goes into the season. I remember doing an interview, and I'm in the Jacksonville locker room, and I was standing with Josh, and I was interviewing Josh at the time, and one of the guys went, pay that man.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you got this guy in a contract year. He turns around, one of my favorite Jaguars' favorite players of all time, Calais Campbell, such a humble, down-to-earth, awesome guy. And here's Calais on the team, and he has the single season sack lead. He's the single season leader in franchise history in Jacksonville with sacks. And last year, Josh Allen in a contract year breaks that. Mm-hmm. So then they got to figure out his contract. They get his contract squared away. But before they do that, they lock in Foye Oluokun. And when they lock in Foye Oluokun, I said, okay, now if I'm Josh, as soon as that happened, I'm like, Jacksonville, you better have a plan. Because if you lock in Foye and you don't lock in the guy that just led your defense in sacks and led your entire franchise in sacks of almost 30 years, he's going to be looking at Foye one locker over going, that's my brother, but if you took care of him, you have to take care of me.
Right, exactly.
And now they extended the 5th-year option for Trevor.
At the end of the day, it's always a business, right? At the end of the day, you can want to be a loyal player and you can want to be a loyal teammate, brother to the guys in the locker room with you, but
you have to take care of home base.
Exactly.
Yeah. And with Trevor, it's
side
like
of things step in.
Trevor's in year 5. Travis Etienne's in year. Like they picked up the 5th-year option for these. Well, they're going in, so they have the 5th-year option to buy them some time. But when you look at 2021-22, so this be going into year 4 for Trevor and Travis, it's really year 3 for Travis because he was hurt the first year, unfortunately, and God willing, he'll be okay, and Trevor too, and everybody. But they picked up that 5th-year option knowing that they have year 4 now to buy them some time to have these contract discussions. But Travis, from being in the locker room, I can tell you, and I'm hoping this changes, he a little bit flashy.
Yeah, I'm guessing.
But in the running back room, they're not getting $10 million a year. Yeah, they're not getting $12 million a year. Because what happened with that was Todd Gurley started it, and then everybody was asking for it, and then look what happened because Todd Gurley fell off the map.
What's crazy is
now Derrick Henry didn't get it.
29.
Right. But look at Derrick Henry.
How is he not in the league right now? That's a crazy stat.
How is Derrick Henry doing what he did last year and what he did in Jacksonville to prevent them from going into the postseason How is Derrick Henry at 30 years old stiff arming guys and getting what he's getting, and then Tennessee goes, "You're not worth it," and they let him go to Baltimore? I mean, you're looking at the top running backs in the nation, and people think they're 35 years old, and you look at the thing, it's like, this guy's 29, this guy's 26, this guy's 20. Saquon, look at Saquon. Saquon's in his mid-20s.
The running back position,
Crazy.
because of the way the game has changed, the running back position has become a throwaway in this league.
But what the league's going to realize...
They want the flashiness of
but
the
they're going to realize,
plays.
and how you disrespect the top 5, top 10, there's going to be a rude awakening in the NFL because everything swings back in the pendulum. There will be a rude awakening in the NFL when there are 25 franchises that don't have a dominant guy. It's going to hit eventually.
There's probably already 25 franchises don't have a dominant guy at the
but
moment.
To me, it's
general.
like there's going to be that hit of like, if you don't have Saquon, if you don't have Derek, if you don't have some of these guys out here that are serviceable. I mean, think about it. How many teams a few years ago could boast that they had one true guy? Like back when Adrian Peterson, it's like you had AP, then maybe you argue like a Derrick Henry. There was 4 teams that were like, this is the guy that we trust. But Joe Mixon is a Texan now. He's not with Cincinnati anymore.
I mean, look at Najee Harris. Najee Harris has run for over 1,000 yards all 3 years.
He catches out of the backfield, too.
And they didn't even pick up his 5th-year option because they don't even want to pay that much for the running back position. The running back position has just, because of the way that the quarterbacks make money and the wide receivers make money, the running back position, look at what the Niners do with undrafted guys. You know what I mean? Like, Jordan Mason is an undrafted guy. Elijah Mitchell was... the Niners are using... obviously, we use Christian McCaffrey, who's an absolute monster. But, like, the Niners are a team who have used late-round picks or undrafted guys every year.
He's an enigma in his 30s. Like, are they going to pay him a big contract?
He probably won't get another contract. But it's hard to say because if he continues to put up 2,000 all-purpose yards and 20 touchdowns together every year,
if you keep knocking on the door or getting to the Super Bowl.
So it's just like one of those things where it feels like the running back position is like a position where teams are just like, yeah, we'll use this 3rd and 4th round guy and these undrafted guys, and we'll put...
They're almost treating it like a fullback.
2
like,
and
we'll
3,
just pick it up.
we'll put these 2 or 3 guys together, and just whatever happens. And if we happen to catch a guy, it's because it's like, look at Austin Eckler. Like, he was an undrafted guy who blew up, and it's like, that
look
was
at Zamir White.
And then the second you have to pay him, you're like, I don't want to have to spend all this money on this guy.
But Zamir,
it was great because he was an undrafted guy that we got in for a couple of years cheap, and he did really great. But now it's like, I don't want to pay him. Go to Washington. Let Washington pay with you now because you're one injury away from not being as useful.
Well, and he hasn't been consistent. And when I look at Zamir was backing up James Cook in Georgia, and I was, interviewing Georgia, interviewing the Zamirs and the Jameses of the world when they won the national championship. And I was thinking to myself, this Zamir guy, why is he falling in the draft? Somebody should pick him up. And he went from people didn't know who he was to people didn't even know he was on the Raiders to now, because of the not wanting to pay guys and letting Josh Jacobs go and franchise this and franchise that. Now Zamir White, if you look at their roster, he very well could end up having 75%, 80%, at least 60% of the carries.
That's the tough part about teams like Texas and Alabama and Georgia. Like, the second string guys would be starting and dominating.
But how many people know who Zamir White is? You and I go into a fantasy football draft thinking of him, but the average NFL fan, when we draft him, they might chuckle. They might go, that's early. And then they watch and they're like, well, who's the other guy that's going to run the ball in Las Vegas?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at. But think about how crazy it was that when you and I were growing up as kids, Philly had a three running back system. They had a 3-headed running back. They had Deuce Staley, Coral Buckhalter, and Brian Westbrook. And they were the only team in the NFL with 3. There were some teams with 2, but they were the only ones with 3. And it was a laughing thing. It was like, find a running back. You guys can't find one guy. And it was literally a joke that they had 3 heads. And if you look at the NFL today, the overwhelming majority of over 20 NFL franchises have 2, if not 3.
Yeah, multiple guys. It's cheaper that way. And if guys go down with injury, that position gets injured a lot. It's just... I think the speed of the game has changed with the defensive ends that are more like outside like the Micah Parsons and the Nick Bosa's. Like, these guys are like, they're so fast. You know what I mean? Like the speed of the game has changed so much that.
Well, that's why they protect the quarterback and change the rules, because the defensive players that are hitting you now.
It's a lot different.
I'm not saying LT didn't hit hard. I'm not saying Bruce Smith. I'm just saying these
the defensive linemen used to look like me, and now they look like linebackers. You know what I mean? That's the difference.
They're so light on their feet and they're fast.
The Dana Stubblefields of the world, the 360-pound big linebacker or big linemen. That's not a thing anymore. These guys are 260 to 290, and they're hybrids. All built hybrid full. Like it's just the speed of that position, because you need to get to the quarterback in 3 seconds or less. Because if you give Patrick Mahomes 4 seconds, Xavier Worthy is going to be 40 yards down the field for a home run touchdown, and you just gave up 7 points. You know what I mean? Like that's
Pat Mahomes ran backwards 20
yards.
And
if you get to him, then if you even get there in 4 seconds, you have to be fast enough to catch him, because he's going to run.
Right.
Jaden Daniels is going to run. Lamar is going to run. These guys, Josh Allen's going to run.
Trevor runs.
Jordan Love's going to run. Brock can move. Like these quarterbacks, you know what I mean? It's not like you've got Brett Favre standing in the pocket. Peyton Manning isn't just Eli Manning. They're not just standing in the pocket.
Yeah.
You know, these quarterbacks.
You can sack Aaron Rodgers.
Right. You can. Yes, there are some guys that aren't super mobile. Like
O'Connell.
Rodgers is 40. O'Connell, he's not a super mobile guy. But like most of the quarterbacks in this league, most of the quarterbacks in this league now have some level of mobility. Like Trevor.
JJ runs.
Trevor's not a runner. But like Trevor has some mobility. He'll move.
He's not a runner, but he can get what he needs.
But like good luck. You don't want to be chasing down Josh Allen. You don't have to be chasing down Patty. Like these guys can.
I also think about
even if they're not runners, like Jaden, Lamar, those are more running quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know that there's going to be designed run plays. Like that Lamar is probably going to run for 60 to 120 yards a game.
Yeah,
because he's going to just have designed runs to go with this passes.
I'll throw for 4,000.
That look like a pass, and then he just is. It's a designed run, but he's also going to scramble. But you've got all these quarterbacks now that can just even Joe Burrow can scramble a little bit. He wants to stay in the pocket and throw, but if he has to scramble, he can scramble. Right. Tua can scramble if he has to.
I look at Trevor in the sense of 6'6", so even if you hit him, I just need him to lean forward. That's all I need him to do. But to get into the schedule and some of these pieces, as we've kind of gone around the NFL and a bunch of different things that have gone on here and what's happening, I want to make a note of this, at least because of how the round robin works and how the rotation works, that this season, if you're looking at it and trying to figure out your team, the AFC East intra-conference will play the AFC South. The interconference will play the NFC West. The 17th game is the NFC North. The AFC North will intra-conference play the AFC West. Interconference will play the NFC East. The 17th game is the NFC South. In the AFC South, Jacksonville's conference, the intra-conference is the AFC East. The interconference is the NFC North. 17th game is the NFC East. In the AFC West, intra-conference is AFC North. Inter-conference is NFC South. 17th game is the NFC West. The NFC East intra-conference is the NFC South. The inter-conference is the AFC North. The 17th game is the AFC South. The NFC North will have the intra-conference against the NFC West. The inter-conference AFC South. And the 17th game, the AFC East. And the NFC South will have intra-conference NFC East games. Inter-conference AFC West. The 17th game will be the AFC North. The NFC West intra-conference will be the NFC North. The inter-conference will be the AFC East, and the 17th game will be the AFC West. So that kind of breaks down this cycle of how things happen and why are teams playing certain games and why are they playing certain teams, this way and whatnot. I do want to hit my birthday because I was born on October 21st on a Monday. I was born at 8:37 a.m., a week late from when I was supposed to be born on October 14th. And this year, I get Monday Night Football. And I don't only get Monday Night Football, I get a Monday Night Football doubleheader. On Monday, October 21st, my birthday, we got Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Bucks with Baker Mayfield re-signed after some thought that there would be a sweepstakes for him around the NFL. And the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh will be facing off against the Arizona Cardinals and Marvin Harrison Jr. He will have to coach against Marvin Harrison again, and it'll be on my birthday, which is also funny because born in Syracuse and Marvin's father played at Syracuse. What are your thoughts on my birthday's Monday Night Football doubleheader?
Should be interesting. I mean, I like, obviously Baltimore having to travel to Tampa makes the game a little tougher for them on the road, but you would think that Baltimore would be the favorite there.
Yeah.
Obviously Baltimore didn't do what they kind of were hoping you would think that they would do in the playoffs last year, but you would think that they would have aspirations to make a Super Bowl run. It looks like they scheduled the games pretty close. I'll probably keep tabs for fantasy purposes on that second game, but that one's not as exciting as
Arizona's got a lot of talent, but they're a big letdown.
Well,
usually,
plus,
hopefully that's
things
different.
I mean, they didn't have Kyler for most of the year last year, right? So like that team's a different football team with Kyler Murray at quarterback, isn't it? So I mean, it's hard to judge the Cardinals because you're talking about how they had pick 4, which you would think that they're a bad football team. But they might not be a bad football team. They might just not have had their franchise quarterback for most of the season.
No Hollywood Brown, no DeAndre now. They have James Conner. They drafted in another running back.
They did. They brought in Benson from Florida State.
Yeah,
and they obviously brought in Marvin Harrison, obviously. So they brought in a big weapon for Kyler.
Yeah.
And they brought in another
They still have Trey
back.
McBride at tight end, who's a big guy. So
Connor, obviously very good when healthy, but he missed a couple of games last year. So obviously they brought in Benson to, I'm assuming maybe October, he probably isn't much of a feature, but I'm assuming he'll probably be doing a little bit of he'll be working himself into the offense by October, I would guess. 5-6 weeks into the season, you would think that the rookies are got a bit of footing.
Yeah. Marvin's got an open door, but I will say this. A guy whose rookie cards I'm happy to have a few of because he definitely shot up to be more of a household name after people probably had no idea he was on the team, and this is not any disrespect to him, as wide receiver of the Cardinals, Michael Wilson.
Okay, yeah, he's a guy, last year he was like everyone's fantasy sleeper. That was a name that people were throwing around as a sleeper last year. And obviously, the Cardinals didn't do a ton last season, so this year, with all of the pressure probably being on Harrison, you would think that he would have another opportunity to maybe have that sleeper status maybe pop up a little bit more.
Yeah.
With another big receiver out there to take some of the pressure off him.
Should help.
And a full season of color. And that my wife's not too thrilled about.
The day before my birthday, which is your wife's birthday, correct?
No, that's our anniversary.
Oh, that's the anniversary. Oh, no, that's the anniversary. I knew it was one of the things that had to do with your wife. So on the day before my birthday, on October 20th, the anniversary of the wonderful Beth and Anthony Campbell will be Kansas City at San Francisco. The rematch of the Super Bowl is on your anniversary.
She's not pumped about that.
So how does she feel about the fact that you'll be in California on your anniversary day?
We'll actually be we'll be in Ocean City. Because we always do Ocean City, Maryland.
Yeah, you go away you go to like a cabin and get away, right?
We go Ocean. No. There's a couple of hotels that are dog friendly that we like to go to, so we get an oceanfront suite with a dog for a week every October. We've done that every year since we got married.
So she knows your plans for your anniversary.
So she actually doesn't know yet.
Hi, Beth.
So if she's watching live or if she watches this later, she's gonna find out. Actually,
Hi, Beth.
I was gonna kind of just like drop this one in a little key later.
Sorry, Beth.
So yeah, she probably won't be too thrilled. I will probably I'll probably have to like be really really good at breakfast, really good at lunch, and then hopefully we win against Kansas City that day so that I am not upset the rest of the night. But it's our anniversary, so I'll probably just be miserable if we lose and then get in trouble.
Well, and the good thing about this though is it's not Sunday night football, it's just Sunday.
Yeah, there'll be more football to watch after.
Yeah, so
yeah, she'll be pumped.
She'll be really excited.
She'll be thrilled.
Yeah, I mean that's one where definitely we apologize in advance. That's Roger Goodell's fault though. That's not your fault.
Yeah, what are you doing to me, Roger?
You know what?
You considered Taylor Swift's concert schedule, but you didn't consider my anniversary, Roger.
Yeah,
come on.
And the thing that this is my bone to pick is that I do ACC kickoff. And I do the American Summer Kickoff, which are the media days for football. And I'm covering, at this point, 28 schools in 5 days. And I'm interviewing all of them. I'm interviewing the players. I'm interviewing the coaches. they decided they had moved these around, and it was like mid-July, late July, August, and now both of them cross each other a little bit. And for last year and this year, they've decided to sandwich right in there my mother's birthday, and I am her only child. So I told the commissioner, Mike Oresco of the American last year, I said, you need to publicly address my mother during the show live and apologize to her, because like the whole, like, my mom's like, it's fine, it's just a day, and I'm like, but it's that's not what that means. That is not what that means.
And since I made the joke already, don't worry, fans. Taylor can make 14 of the Chiefs games this year. I saw that little note. I don't remember if it was on X or an article somewhere, but Taylor only has concerts on 3 of the Chiefs' scheduled games this season, so she can make it to 14 games.
Great.
So I'm sure we'll be seeing T Swift in action at Kansas City games this year.
I know all you. And
we touched on it earlier. The NFL is a business, and
yeah,
we love selling tickets, and Taylor will do that. So
yeah, I will say that the true NFL fans hate it, but the Swifties love it, and somewhere in the middle, I think people can get over the fact that I mean, it's shown a few times. I will say this:
she's on screen for like 30 seconds.
If I'm Pat Mahomes' wife, I'm going to have a few grapes though, because
she's in Sports Illustrated now. You see that?
Good for her though. Beautiful lady. Wonderful woman. Good for you.
She's doing her own thing. Britt's doing her own thing.
Yeah. I will also say this to Russell Wilson with all due respect, because one of the commandments is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So I will say this with all respect. Sierra is gorgeous. I cannot listen to...
Multi-talented star as well.
I can't listen to her music without picturing how she knows how to move herself. So Russell... no matter what they say about you and whether or not you're the starting quarterback in Pittsburgh, you go home to Sierra. So I think that life is good in Russ. And they got beautiful kids.
I'm sure he'll come up with some kind of like steel thing for the Steelers this year.
Yeah, he'll come up with something.
He'll come up with something terrible, Mr. Unlimited.
But we have the number of primetime games per team is interesting here. The Jets, the Niners, and the Cowboys, good for you. You have 6 prime time of those 3 teams.
Well, we played the Jets and Cowboys in prime time, so that probably bumped all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, everybody comes.
Yeah, we play each of them.
And then 5, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Packers, the Lions, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Eagles, the Dolphins, and the Rams.
Those are, I mean, so far when you hear those names, you're not surprised. Those are all the teams that you kind of picture being playoff teams.
Yeah.
And then even in the next tier down, you're thinking like those are teams that are probably going to be, that were either playoff teams or teams that, like, you know, the Falcons. Yeah. The Falcons coming on the next tier with 4 games, like, you know, they brought in Cousins. Obviously, you're gonna want to push that.
You're a little surprised what you think of the uptick. The Seahawks, you're surprised a bit. The Bucs, you're
assuming
not.
Like the Seahawks, because the Seahawks
are playing somebody.
They're playing
the Niners.
Well, there's probably like a Thursday night San Francisco game.
Yeah.
Because they tend to do one of those divisional games, but they play Kansas City too.
Right.
So like they probably play like the Chiefs. So like that's probably where that comes in.
Then you have
the Texans. I'm not surprised. The Steelers.
Browns,
I'm not surprised.
The Steelers, who their quarterback's going to be long term. The Browns, you know, they had a good year. They do actually. The Browns, when you look at off-season moves, one of the most consistent teams. There's a couple of them. Texans and the Browns are extremely consistent of, like, they really kept a lot together, and then they added.
And the Browns, Judy. You know, they were right there, you know, for everything last year. And
their worst game was against Houston.
The Thursday games, those count as primetime games, and they absolutely love to make those divisional games there. So I wouldn't be surprised if,
Cincinnati.
yeah, exactly, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a primetime game, or even like, you know, a Monday night game between...
Pitt always gets stuff because it's Pitt and there's fans everywhere and there's Pittsburgh bars everywhere. 3 for the Giants, Bears, Chargers, and Saints.
So like Saints having 3 primetime games would be something that would surprise me a little bit.
Yeah. The Chargers because of Harbaugh.
Harbaugh, that's not surprising.
The Bears because of Caleb. The Giants is surprising. I mean, they have fans again.
Well, I'm guessing you've got a Philly and a Dallas primetime game.
Yeah, a Sunday night.
Maybe, I don't...
They usually get Sunday, Monday stuff.
Yeah.
Looking at 2 for the Vikings, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Broncos, and the Jaguars. Jacksonville last year, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that in Jacksonville's less than 30 years of existence, 30-year anniversary 2025, the Jacksonville Jaguars, since coming out in 95, I do not believe had ever had a season like last season where they had a Thursday, a Sunday, and a Monday night football
Well,
game.
I'm guessing they're not counting the London games as prime time.
They're not.
Because they're like 9 a.m. But like they're also
These are like night games.
Yeah, right. You're talking probably Thursday, Sunday, Monday night.
So
Jacksonville's getting some more premier screen time though as well, having the 2 London games.
And the definite thing here is we're the only game on in London for 2 weeks in a row at 9:30 in the morning.
Right.
You wake up on a Sunday and you stay in bed because you remember that there's football on. They get Sunday night football this year, and they get Monday night football. Their Monday night football game is huge. It's in week 3 and it's at Buffalo. And so there's a good chance you might find me in the southern part of the state of New York, the western southern part. And then with one primetime game, this is definitely a change without Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. Tom Brady a couple of years ago. Bill this year, for the first time, will not be coaching in many decades. The Patriots, the Cardinals, the Titans, a little surprising because I think there's some fanfare. Yeah, and I am surprised about the Colts only having one. Those are your ones.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like numbers-wise,
the Colts having less than the Vikings.
Numbers-wise, you get to a point where some teams just get left out. Yeah. Obviously, but you would think the Titans. I mean,
I would really imagine. I'm surprised. In the Colts.
You got DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Tyler Boyd. Now you've got Tony Pollard with Tajay Spears. You've got Chigakonkwo. You've got Levis, who didn't, he obviously last year had some ups and some downs.
You got my guy from BC, Harold Landry.
He wasn't too bad. I mean, that offense is, I'm not going to say you're scared of it, because obviously a lot of it depends on what Levis can do. Yeah. But, Tajay Spears was not bad as a rookie. Tony Pollard is obviously, you kind of thought he would maybe take some steps up in Dallas after Zeke left. That maybe didn't happen.
Yeah.
Kind of like they hoped, which is why they let him go and didn't sign him. But you look at the names on paper and you think, okay, they got 3 wide receivers. They got a decent tight end who can maybe, do something with all the wide receivers. They got a couple of running backs that you've heard of. And they got a quarterback who was drafted, I think, early too. He fell out of the one. But like a guy who was talked about being as a first-round quarterback in his second season. You'd think that they might have a couple more primetime games.
Yeah, he was my draft day counter. Like my draft day parallel was Will Levis, where I didn't have him going in the first round like other people did. And at the time, I felt like I was one of 2 people that did not have him in the first round. I had him falling out of the first round. And when he was waiting there, they put like a hot girl next to him, moved her out, put another hot girl next to him. And so I was seeing draft day.
They're like trying to sell Will Levis any way they can.
I was seeing the guy from draft day when Diddy was the agent of that one guy in draft day. The only team to not have a primetime event, drum roll, is obviously the team that you think of, which very well could end up being the worst team in the NFL for the second year in a row, unfortunately. The Carolina Panthers, who play at the Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, not really a surprise, right? Coming off a terrible season where they didn't even have the first overall pick. They had to give it to Chicago.
They got rid of a coach that they brought in 11 weeks in. They didn't even keep him for 1 year.
They got rid of the coach who wanted the correct quarterback and was vetoed by the owner.
Yeah.
Their owner.
And they got rid of their general manager, finally admitting that when you keep changing quarterbacks and coaches like underpants, that it's a front office problem.
Yeah, I mean, their owner.
Bryce Young looked very confused. Now he was a first year, and talk about the expectations, and we need to be more lenient. But if he can put on some weight and see some stuff, I will shout this out that some of you may not.
He was small at Alabama,
but he's also thin. He's built like a wide receiver.
He's a smaller guy. He's.
But the tight end, who is the starter in Carolina, his name is Tommy Tremble. And his younger brother has spent multiple times on wake-up call because Jamie Tremble is going to play tight end for Syracuse.
Okay.
And their father played in the NFL as a defensive back. So shout out to that at least. But I want to get into a couple things. You had a few notes. Did we hit your notes? What did we not hit on your notes?
So the only thing I had on my notes, let me open up this note. We talked about there are 9 playoff rematches in the regular season this year, and I think I can probably find up. I don't know if I can find them exactly on this, but Ravens Chiefs, did they play in the playoff? I don't know. Lions Niners playoff rematch. There's a bunch of good regular season games with there being 9 playoff rematches. And then I just had a list of like key games.
Yeah, so
obviously Chiefs 9. So this ESPN put out a list of notable games. September 5th, Ravens at Chiefs. Those are 2 teams that were in the playoffs last year. September 8th, Rams at Lions. That's notable obviously because of the Stafford Goff trade.
Yeah.
Steelers Falcons September 8th. That would be notable because Arthur Smith will be playing against his old team. He just left the Falcons and he's now the offensive coordinator for the
known
Steelers.
For the last game of not shaking hands and yelling out "F-U" to the coach on the other side. Yeah.
Titans at Bears September 8th is notable according to ESPN. I'm guessing that's just Caleb's first game.
Yeah.
Jets Niners September 9th, Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers' other Achilles has a chance to do the funniest thing ever.
I said he better not run out holding the American flag. They have to change how it's happening. They have to have Sauce run out with it or something like that.
September 12th, Bills at Dolphins. I'm not sure why that's notable. Because Bills and Dolphins play twice every year.
Yeah.
Bucks at Lions. Bears at Texans. Those are both
Bucks and Lions is a rematch of the playoffs.
So that's already okay. There you go. Bucks at Lions. That's a playoff rematch. September 15th.
Yeah, because the Tampa went to Detroit.
September 15th. Bears at Texans. I'm guessing Caleb versus Stroud, 2 top quarterback picks there.
Yeah.
Eagles at Bucks. Is that a playoff rematch?
Yeah, because the Bucks beat the Eagles.
Bucks beat the Eagles. Yeah.
Bucks beat the Eagles. Went on to play Detroit.
Yep. So Eagles at Bucks playoff rematch. October 20th we touched on. Chiefs at Niners is the Super Bowl rematch.
Stop mentioning it.
October 27th, Bears at Commanders. So that's Caleb versus Jaden.
Yes, that's good.
Let's pick 1 versus pick 2.
Yeah.
November 17th, Chiefs at Bills. So KC in Buffalo. Obviously, they have a storied history.
And they now get to have the history of you let us trade up 4 picks to get the guy that's now going to be Tyreek Hill-esque potentially that you have to play against. Xavier Worthy.
Do you want to know a sad story? So I actually, in my dynasty league that I've been doing with my friends for like 10, 15 years, and I can't remember, I actually drafted Patrick Mahomes and traded him away.
You did.
For Drew Brees. I won 2 championships with Drew, so it kind of panned out.
Yeah, it's all good.
Maybe I created Patrick Mahomes.
Maybe you did.
Because now he's beaten my Niners for 2 Super Bowls. So
That's true.
While I won 2 fantasy championships, he's cost me 2 real Super Bowls.
Well, I can say that. Yeah, I get. What are they? Oh, you think it's evening out? I
think he's evened it out now. I've won 2 championships, but he's cost me 2 Super Bowls.
I can say this from GG Cards and Breaks that this guy who's backing up Jordan Love in Green Bay, Michael Pratt, he is responsible for doing something. Do you know what he is responsible with Tulane for? And Tajay Spears? They are responsible for, in the Cotton Bowl of 2 seasons ago that I was at Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas, in an instant classic, Michael Pratt, Tajay Spears, and company, in an offensive, defensive, and special teams, just really exciting game, took down USC and number 1 pick Caleb Williams. So Michael Pratt, who was drafted at the end of the draft, actually helped lead against the number 1 overall pick.
That's fun.
Yeah.
24th, we've got November 24th, 49ers at Packers. That's a playoff rematch, I believe.
Of the 2 teams that beat the Cowboys all the time in the playoffs.
Yep. November 28th, that's Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got Bears at Lions, Giants at Cowboys, Dolphins at Packers.
Which is the rotator game.
That's the 3 games.
What do you think about that one, the rotator this year? Dolphins Packers. Yeah. Jordan Love to
Yeah, I mean you've got 2 aspiring
Josh
teams
Jacobs.
that should be competing for playoff spots, getting in towards the tail end of the season, that should be a pretty pivotal game for those two teams, you would think, by that point in the
Miami
season.
going away from home to a cold place.
Christmas,
could be snowing.
Christmas Day, you got Chiefs at Steelers and Ravens at Texans. Those could be two playoff
Lamar versus CJ. That's a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Cards-wise.
Is that a playoff rematch? Yeah, Ravens beat the Texans, right?
I'm trying to think about this now. Texans beat the Browns, and then they went on to play... Ooh, now I got to think about it. Did they play the Chiefs? They didn't play the Chiefs. They must have played Baltimore. Now I have to...
I don't remember.
Yeah, now this is...
And then December... The last one on ESPN's list is Lions at Niners, December 30th, which is the NFC Championship rematch.
Yeah, I have to think about this now. The Texans... They beat the Browns. Oh, now I got to think about this. Let's go back. Yeah, it was Baltimore, 34-10.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah, so that would be
wow. I blacked that game out of my head.
Christmas Day, they get a rematch on Christmas Day at home, and then December 30th is Lions Niners. That's your NFC Championship rematch.
Yeah, so we get to see
a lot of fun playoff rematches in the regular season.
Yeah,
and they did a good job of kind of positioning those at very critical points in time.
The final note that I want to make here is I want to take a look at the international schedule for the NFL. Because when the international schedule came out, there's a bunch of games now, and
There's a Germany game, right? There's a Brazil game.
The Brazil for the first... There's never been a regular season game played in Brazil, and that's going to start this season
Week
off.
1. Yeah, right away we get international game week 1. That's a Friday night, I believe, right?
The Battle of Forest Green... the Green Bay Packers, which is a little bit off from the forest color, a little bit lighter with yellow in it. Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles at Corinthians Arena. It's going to be in Brazil, and it's at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock, Week 1. What are your thoughts on Brazil and the fact that we're going to see this so early on for both of these teams? This is a Thursday night game.
I think it's a Friday night.
It is Friday night.
I think it's a Friday night.
It is Friday night because there hasn't been a Friday night. I don't think there's been a Friday night. It was something about Friday night and then playing in Brazil.
Because they play Thursday, Friday.
They do play
Sunday, Monday. I think it's going to smoke. I think they're going to have tons of fans there. I think it's going to be
you're a soccer fan, so
Brazil. I think it's going to be a massive success. You know what I mean? You're bringing football to a new market, and you're bringing.
Do you think
two teams
Ronaldo and Messi will show up at this game?
Probably. I mean, Ronaldo's in Saudi Arabia right now. Messi could go. He's in Miami.
He's not far.
He could fly down.
He's not too far.
But you've got two playoff teams opening up their season. Technically on the road, even though I think Philly might be a home team there, but they're both on the road because it's in a different country. But yeah, I think it's good to bring it to the new market. Obviously, they're the stadium that they're in will probably sell a lot more tickets than an NFL stadium traditionally can. These
soccer stadiums are nuts.
The soccer stadiums are designed for hundreds of thousands, not 60 to 80,000 like some of the NFL stadiums are.
Yeah.
So I think that's a fun addition, bringing it to Brazil. Obviously you don't want these teams. You've got to think about your home fans too, right? Like you buy a season ticket package to the Eagles, and now you only get 7 games because there's a road game in Brazil. That's tough for your home fans, so you can't go crazy with them.
It's better on the years when you have because with the new 17 game schedule. You have 9 home. You'll have 9, 8 road, and then the next year you'll have 8 home, 9 road. So in Jacksonville's case, this year they have 8 home, but now they only have 7. So I feel like the teams that they should be putting in international rotation should only be during seasons where they have 9 home games.
Right.
So they still have 8 because fans are used to having 8 home games.
Right. Yeah. So
in their season tickets.
So but I think that'll be fun. I think it'll be nice to have football on a Friday night too.
Yeah.
I think that'll be good for TV revenue, for ad revenue, for everyone. Obviously, we've said it before. It's a business for the NFL. But yeah, I think that'll be. I mean, I'll be watching. I'll take as many days of NFL football as I can get. So yeah, I'll be locked in on a Thursday night, a Friday night, a Sunday all day, and a Monday night for sure.
And thanks to conferences like the MAC and some out there. There were weeks last season between college and pro that there was a game on every day of the week, starting on Monday to Tuesdays,
Monday,
to Wednesdays,
Tuesday,
crazy.
yeah.
So the next game we will see will actually bring us on Sunday, October 6th, early on here. Minnesota will play the Jets at Tottenham Hotspur
Yeah, where was that
Stadium.
other? Where was the list of each of the?
Right here. So the Jets and the Vikings are considered the home team at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, and that'll be October 6th on week 5.
That starts a couple weeks in a row, right, in London.
3 straight weeks.
Yep, because then you got the back-to-back Jags.
Yeah, the Jags will be in Tottenham. Will get 2 games in a row. Tottenham will have the Jaguars Bears the next week on October 13th, and also at 9:30 in the morning. And then the day before my birthday.
Look at that, perfect on my anniversary, 9:30 a.m. football. My wife's gonna be thrilled.
9:30 and mid afternoon, in the early afternoon.
So
You're just gonna have to plan out a really good candlelit dinner on the beach. You're gonna have to do it up big in Ocean City.
I'm in trouble already.
So, I will say that if Anthony is texting me, did you see that play in the Jets Patriots or the Jaguars Patriots game? I'm gonna know that you're locked yourself in the bathroom and you're watching on television.
I'm gonna need to bring my portable charger thing and just like no volume.
All I know is if I get a message from you during the Patriots Jaguars game at Wembley Stadium on October 20th, which is a morning game that starts at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time as well.
If Mac Jones gets to take any snaps against his former team,
I surely hope that we can rest Trevor and play Mac in that game. In the second half,
you should be able to. The Patriots don't look like they're going to have much going on.
And shout out to Mac because his hometown is Jacksonville. For those that didn't know, I didn't know that going into
and then the Germany game is Giants Panthers,
which is the Giants prime time. Well, it's not. It's not prime time. It's morning.
It's the Panthers do get some representation in the prime time ish.
Allianz Arena, home of the FC Bayern Munich team. We have a game in Germany, November 10th, week 10. So we have altogether 5 international games. Brazil, Germany, and London represented.
Yeah. I think it's good.
It used to be Mexico. We don't have a Mexico one this year. Where would you like there to be a game? You're a big soccer fan, so if you could go anywhere in the world for next season, where would you take the NFL?
It's hard to say, right? Because they're not only are they looking to hit areas where they can get a big stadium, fill it with fans.
Yeah,
London has obviously worked, so they want to try other markets because it's probably going to work. But you want to be able to find a market that you can potentially go back to.
Yeah.
So
Spain, FC Barcelona.
Yeah, you could probably do that. Yeah, that would be a place that because you've got obviously there's a lot of big
Real Madrid.
Somewhere in Italy would probably, you know what I mean.
I said Spain, and then I telepathically sent you Italy because of my 2 homes.
So one of those bigger cities that has any of these.
I want to play in like the old, like I want to go to Italy and play in like the old. Like arenas that they had for gladiators,
Paris,
and stuff.
You know what I mean? Like that would be that international.
Paris would be cool.
They've got a Disney there, obviously.
Do you think that France would scoff at our
anywhere that Disney has gone? You could ABC can just bring. You know what I mean? Anywhere that there's already Disney,
Shanghai,
you can have ESPN
Tokyo.
Can run the. They've already got ESPN to get them a worldwide.
Here's my question. Here's my question to you. This is very important. Because of the east of the Mississippi rule, they can't build any Avenger ride or lands in Walt Disney World. They can't build the Marvel stuff like that. Guardians somehow got away with it because when they were doing the east of the Mississippi thing, Universal probably looked at all of the inventory for Marvel and they went, a talking tree and a raccoon? Yeah, okay. And now we have Guardians ride because they probably didn't care about that. But Shanghai has the Iron Man 4D ride. So my question to you is this. Is there ever a world where you and Beth find me a potential suitor lady and we double date Iron Man in Shanghai?
The 4D rides, man, they make me sick.
They do.
Like Guardians.
Have you done the Spider-Man one? Have you done the Spider? So wait, but Guardians isn't 4D. But you're saying if there's a screen,
like the screen and the movement of the coast, like that made me feel very nauseous. It took me like 10 minutes to recover from Guardians.
Okay.
I had a ton of fun on it, but like as soon as it stopped, I was like, "Get me out of this thing," because like I'm nauseous.
Over under that we can get you to Shanghai ever.
Probably 0.
Me too.
I just don't want to deal with the international flights.
I don't want to deal with the smog and the so many humans. It's a lot of people in China.
Like my mom goes to Italy and I'm just like 13, 14-hour flights. Like no thanks.
But Italy's spaced out. And when I think of China, I just think like there's so many people. It's so compact.
I tell you, they get like if I could be like Iron Man and like fly around in a cool suit and get there in like half an hour, like
well, if
Beth,
if you're watching, I have made this that if I get to a certain point, I'm 38, so maybe if I get to 40 and I haven't found the right woman, you may drive by my house and you may hear some clanking because I've kind of made a deal with myself subconsciously that if I don't have somebody by a certain time, I'm going to build an Iron Man suit.
I love it. Let's get it going.
So now Anthony's hoping that I stay single.
I'm all in on the Iron Man suit. I will not be helping you find a woman now. I want the Iron Man suit to happen for sure.
I just really want
you to show up at trade night, full Iron Man suit on the first trade night after you turn 40.
Just to walk in and I'm going to have like all the lights go out and you're going to hear and I'm just going to have that there and Anthony's going to be like,
yes,
he did it. We're sitting right across and be like, I told you I was gonna.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here. So with that being said, a final thing here, GG Cards and Breaks. We talk about them daily here. We talk about them every time we do a morning show, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have given you show and tell during DT and Murphy on Mondays. You work there. I talk about, now I'm going to preface this. You guys already know this, but when I talk about GG Cards and Breaks, open 7 days a week, that's atypical of a sports card shop. If you've never collected cards, it's a great place to go into. If you have, it's a great place to go into. Because of the service, because you remember people, you remember their favorites, you remember things that they like, you're always changing things up, you're passionate about it, you don't just sell cards, you live in that world, and the passion that you have, the kid-like connection that you bring to it, the personal touch, and just the care and concern and the love for the community, it's not a sports card shop to me, as much as it is a community kind of watering hole gathering place. So in my opinion, I can't say enough about it. And I really feel that from my heart. I know that you and Josh and the guys know that, but I would love to hear, with you being on the show for the first time, how you would describe GG Cards and Breaks.
Oh man. It started out like as just kind of like an idea. Like Josh and I kind of got back into the hobby ourselves. A lot of people who maybe hadn't heard the story. My wife and I bought our first house kind of like during COVID, during the pandemic. And when you buy a house, you got to move all your stuff. And I found my old cards and it just kind of re-sparked my interest in the hobby. And it started there. And Josh and I kind of took that and we ran with it. And it started out as like a small idea of something that we could do. And, our first trade night, I think there were 12 people. And that included Josh and I, and now we get 50, 60, 70, 80 people every single time. And the local community has really shown out for us, and it just kind of drives us every day to continue, trying to be the best version of what we can do for the community. And, we started out with 2 display cases and 1 little wall of wax, and we have over 100,000 singles in the store. It's really hard to describe what it is. It's turned into what the community has helped it turn into. It wouldn't be anything without the people who have come into the store. It's really not about us. It's everyone who comes in and shops with us weekly. It's everyone who comes in to see what's new. It's everyone who comes in to trade night to bring us stuff that they're not interested in owning and trades us stuff that they don't want to pick up stuff that they do want. And, we have a lot of great local customers, obviously. We wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for them. But, it started out as just a small idea. And over the last couple of years, it's really grown into something bigger. and we're always trying to kind of keep new things growing and going from there. And we have something cool coming up for June that we're going to be posting about pretty soon. An idea that Josh and I kind of spitballed together the other day actually, and we got a little graphic together, so we'll be posting that pretty soon. Fun little contest, so a little teaser if you're an artist and you're under the ages of 15. We'll have a little something coming up for the entire month of June that we think is pretty cool, and you'll have a chance to get your own custom Topps card. So there's a little spoiler on that, and there'll be more details to come on that on our Facebook page, and I'm sure Dan will be amping that up because he loves to share all that stuff with us, and he's a big fan of the stuff, and he's a big help of spreading the word for the store. And so yeah, we're excited about that. I think that's going to be really fun promo, and I think it'll be really cool to see what people come up with. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, in the NFL Panini Player of the Day, which I proudly wear my shirt, and you see my James Cook here in the studio. Let me make sure you can see the auto there. Oh, well, there it is, kind of. There it is. So, now you can see it. So, yeah, Cook here, coming from the Panini Player of the Day giveaway, and some really cool stuff that you guys do all the time. And I mean, it's that connection. When I was a little kid, I used to go to George's, and I loved it there. George, the owner, knew me, knew my mom, knew my grandma, and he would get things signed for me. He would put stuff aside. I would get comics and cards, and sometimes I'd go home and I'd be looking through my stuff and there'd be 3 cards in there that I didn't put in there. And it's like he just would do stuff like that. And, Anthony and Josh really, and again, not saying it because you're here, and I said it when I was at the Crawfish Festival with Josh, I mean, you're just good people, and that comes through so easily because on it, you can't stay in character forever, and who you are really resonates with me. And the 9-year-old me and the 38-year-old me is like, oh my God, I can't even believe that I can go back to 9-year-old me and say, we found a place again, like we found a home. And just the extra things that you do, every MLB team, every NFL, every NBA team represented. As a Jaguar, a Diamondback, and a Raptor, where else can I go to find all of them every week? And I'll walk into the store, and Anthony will smile and he'll go, got something for you. And he'll reach into the drawer, and anything that you guys have ever given me, that stays here. It stays in the studio, and it means a lot to my heart. My mom will go in and get me stuff, and the guys, she'll tell me, she's like, oh my God, Anthony and Josh are so excited to do this. And when they gave you the 101, like they planned it out and how we were going to hide it, and they wanted to know how it was going to go. And she always says, she's like, they're so great, and they really care, and they just always, want to do something special. So it goes a long way. And, for me, I didn't just find a sports card shop. I found some really good friends, and I found people that I deeply trust and incredibly value. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
You're good people.
You brought up Player of the Day.
Yes.
NBA is on the way.
Oh, really?
NBA Player of the Day on the way soon, too.
Who is going to be the Raptor guy? We're like rebuilding right now. Scotty Barnes.
There'll be another announcement on that soon, too.
Okay.
I just got some information on that from Panini.
I am in it.
For NBA Player of the Day. So I think that's coming this summer as well.
A lot of good things coming this summer.
Yeah, there'll be some fun stuff happening in store soon.
And so definitely come and say hi to Josh, Anthony, and the entire team at GG Cards and Breaks. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 to 5. In the meantime, from the Heritage Hill Studios, I want to thank you for watching and listening to Wake Up Call in this special broadcast, as well as Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, worldwide on youtube.com, facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.com, dt.podbean.com. And once we go live, we jump into the archives. You can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And a big time thanks to our incredible team that GG Cards and Breaks is a part of. Visit our partners in Central and Upstate New York, including our exclusive studio partner of Heritage Hill Brewhouse in Pompey and Heritage Hill North, where I was with Anthony last week and his wife Beth out there at Heritage Hill North on 628 South Main Street in North Syracuse, New York. Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, where you will find GG Cards and Breaks Trade Night every single season, so 4 times a year, one in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, as well as Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, and Wake Up Call is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of the Lemoyne College Dolphins, the Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse Bobcats, and the Binghamton University Bearcats. So for now, from the studios, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. Head out to Heritage Hill, our exclusive partner. You liked it out there.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, great flatbreads. They have a nice selection of drinks. It was nice over, and we love the regular Heritage Hill. We bring the dog out there all the time.
Yeah, they're pet friendly. Which is great.
Heritage Hill North is if you're looking to get a little flatbread, a little snack after some garage sales, or just whatever you're doing on a Saturday, Sunday. It was it was real nice over there.
And that dill flavor that I found that I love so much is inside of a lot of those flatbreads.
Yeah.
So get out there to that. We'll see you in the meantime, as always, here on Wake Up Call. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Anthony, it's been a pleasure.